Isang magandang araw po sa inyong lahat at sa ating lahat, umaga man, hapon o gabi, wherever we are and you are in the world. Welcome to our Things Wednesday edition. And at the same time, sinasabay na po natin dito ang taping natin ng ating opinion ngayon para sa Golden Nation Network, GNN, dito sa cable TV at saka satellite TV sa GSAT. So you're watching two shows in one go, ano? Dito sa ating 2 oras sa Miyerkules. And ang pag-uusapan natin sa episode, sa segment ng opinion ngayon sa Golden Nation Network, unang-una itong pagkamatay ni aktivista at NPA guerrilla na si Kerima Tariman, ex-Collegian editor. At ang tanong natin, bakit si Joma buhay pa, over 80 years old, at nag-enjoy sa Utrecht, samantalang itong 41 or 42 years old, iba-ibang ulat, na young activist and student or graduate of the University of the Philippines ay namatay sa clash ng Armed Forces of the Philippines versus the New People's Army in Hacienda Raimunda, Silay City, Negros Occidental. And the second subject matter is going to be the Afghan fall of Kabul and its impact on the Philippines. So yan po ang dalawang pag-uusapan. Babati muna si Maestra Ana dito sa ating audience and then si Tado. Then we will start taping our first segment of opinion ngayon. Maestra Ana, good evening.
Opo, good evening po. Good evening po sa ating mga taga-subaybay at sana po ay nasa mabuti kayong kalagayan. Sabi nga ni Mentong, 2 programa ang matutunghayan nyo ngayong araw na to, yung GNN Opinion ngayon at yung usual na Wednesday show na Power Things po. Sana po ay magkaroon tayo ng balitaktakan dito. Mag-comment lang po kayo para mabasa po namin. Maraming salamat.
Tado.
Well, itong kay Kerima Tariman, mga kabansay, malapit sa aking puso dahil ako po ay former college editor. At ito pong mga taga-UP ay mga spursuhan po natin yan ng matagalan. Hindi po ang diskurso kung wala ang mga makakaliwang mga components ng University of the Philippines. And with that sad note, we open the show, but we hope we could get better lessons out of this. And sa ating idealism, lalo na sa mga kabataan, ay pangalagaan natin ating mga prinsipyo para hindi maligaw. At ang worst ay makadamay pa kayo ng iba. Mahirap po, basta ang sabi nga ng aking psychiatrist, ay basta ang isang bagay ay naisa-isip na, lalo na sa mga pag-aaral, ay para ating pong mga brains ay parang computer. So once pasukan nyo yan ang lesson, mahirap pong tanggalin yan because some people will always go back to it depending on what confronts them in some milestones of their lives. So mag-ingat po tayo. Tayong mga magulang ay mag-maintain ng open communication with our children. Always, walang masyadong gadget, no? Lalo na pagka kumakain sa hapagkainan sa hapunan para makapag-usap-usap, bawasan ng TV time ng mga bata. At alamin kung ano talaga ang nangyayari sa kanilang mga buhay. Good evening, good morning, and good day kung saan man kayo naroon. Depende sa kung saan kayo in this whole wild world which we will discuss today. Mentong.
Okay, and before we start the taping for the GNN show, Bumati po tayo sa early birds po natin sa YouTube, si Pablo Avellana, si Tasha Del Mar, and si Sumawang. Mawang. Is that the right way to pronounce that? And then I'm missing my cursor again kasi nagsasabay yung text, no? And then dito sa, yan, okay. Sa Facebook ba to? Yes, si Juliet Camaro, Willie Tang, Ana, Antonio Miguel Carlos, si Obi Aranzamete. Did I pronounce that correctly? Alexandro Guerrero, Yolito Argelias, and si Alfred Ang. Good evening here in Manila. Okay, now we will formally count down to start our taping for the Global or the Golden News Network show. Diyos, to start, no? I'll just count 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, magandang araw po sa inyong lahat. Kayo po ay inaanyayahan namin sa sala po, sa studio po ng Golden Nation Network today to discuss 2 topics. Of course, sa domestic issues, we know yung hot issue itong nakaraang 2-3 araw ay yung PDP laban, yung pagtanggap ni Digong sa tumakbo bilang Vice Presidente at yung sagot ni Sara Duterte. But as we all know, politics will change from day to day, so we will not focus on that. We will focus on our first segment dito sa 50 taong problema ng taong bayan ng bansang Pilipinas, ng Republika ng Pilipinas, itong NPA, CPP, NPA, NDF insurgency laban sa katatagan ng ating Republika, na nang uudlot ng ating development, nasira ng ating economic efforts to take off for the betterment of our people. And the latest development is this death of a young and naturally it gets more attention because the young lady who was killed in the NPA AFP clash in Silay City, Oriental, Negros Occidental. Ang pangalan po ay si Kerima Tariman, was a former collegian editor of the University of the Philippines, a poet, at may mga katha na mga tula na ating nababasa, at may itsura and natural na mas nakakataog pansin. Hindi lang po yung kanyang mga larawan bilang kundi yung kanyang pagka-baby pa, and nandyan lumalabas po ang mga conclusion na we're showing you right now on your screen. And she was one of 2 New People's Army fighters who perished. And I'm keeping watch of the time for right now to make sure we're tracked. And the Communist Party of the Philippines admitted on their Facebook that it is Kerima Tariman, and her father, poet Pablo Tariman, confirmed her death in a separate social media post. She was 42, this report says. Kerima was a member of Alay Sining, an organization of artists and cultural workers at the University of the Philippines, Diliman, and also served as culture editor of the region. Our next image is her picture as a baby, and the report from ANC, the slain poet and rebel Kerima Lorena Tariman in the eyes of her father, Pablo, who believes Kerima was, as he said, finished off. In other words, bubuhay kung hindi daw tinodo na with a finishing bullet siguro by the Armed Forces of the Philippines. Armed Forces says, however, that her shoulder had been hit by bullets and was really severe, and most likely the reality is she bled to death. Malungkot, but that's the reality. Natanong po ako ng isang dating colonel na kaibigan ko, si Romeo Salinas, why did she become a rebel? I answered, idealism, romance, a tolerant father, a shallow understanding of social change and geopolitics. Halo-halo na po. Kasi napangasawa niya ay naging guerrillero din. Or, in the words of our AFP, mga terorista Fortunately, that is a tag that is appropriate for them, even though we understand that there are elements of idealism there. Ang problemang malaki po, yung mga politiko, instead of trying to help, no, us understand and comprehend the severity of this problem and the positive direction our government is taking to settle once and for all this crisis. They are criticizing the government's moves and presenting obstacles. Also, more importantly, and which I made an image of, is the fact that our title asks, why is Joe Masison, over 8 years old, is still enjoying and being the life of the party in Utrecht? You in the image in front of you now in your screen, you can see Joe Masison enjoying dancing with pretty ladies, parties, and so on, while the lovely Keriman, baby, and the lady are gone from this world. So let us look at what the politicians do. Ito po si Lacson. Lacson is hitting the program of government, the NTF, National Task Force, eliminate the communist insurgency, LCAC, and is refusing to support the NTF LCAC's budget. We have politicians associating with Joe Masison like Yorme, Mayor of Manila, or the other politicians like John Vic Remulla, the Governor of Cavite, but of course also the Congress Speaker Lord Alan Velasco. Maybe it is because of the politics in the Congress and the politics of getting votes that they play these games with the communist CPP, NPA, NDF element. So I turn to our analyst, Maestra Ana Balitopuy. What her reaction is to the question of Romy Solinas, Colonel Romy Solinas. Why do these young people become rebels? And what is the advice you have to these young people who may be witnessing this right now in the news reports? And I will ask the same thing from Kaado after you.
Sa akin po medyo ano yan parang nakakalungkot kasi yung age niya is similar with me. I'm actually within this age range, no? Saka UP siya, I think nag-abot kami sa UP. And I think to a certain extent when I was in UP, because I was also part of the movement, not to a certain extent, no? When I was a student, not necessarily after graduation. So, naiintindihan ko yung concept ng idealismo. Kasi pag bata ka, there's really such a thing as idealism. And it's normal for young people, like age what? Siguro 15 years old, kapag you're involved in politics and your eyes is open to national issues, you tend to be idealistic and you tend to be very, how do you call that? You tend that change is easy. Yun that you can force change anytime and then you just do things like rally ka dyan or punta ka sa bukid para mag-revolution and all that. Ganun kasi kapag bata ka, I've been through that. No? I've gone through that stage. Pero kasi it really depends as well. May mga naging aktivista naman kasi sa UP na after they graduate from UP, they open their minds to the realities of the world. Na there's no such thing as mabilisan. Everything has to go through the process at saka yung idealism mo has to be put in proper place and proper context. Ganon Pero ang mahirap kasi dyan, it has also to be guided by the environment na meron ka at yung parents na meron ka. Kasi I think those people na namundok, mga kasama na nasa movement na namundok, karamihan sa kanila po kasi, ang mga parents din nila are actually part of the movement since before. Pero mayroon namang iba na hindi part, pero dahil nga siguro kulang ang guidance ng parents na udyok na pumunta doon. So hindi nila natapos ang pag-aaral, some of them natapos pero hindi sila pumasok sa mainstream society. Pero there are those na they enjoy being an activist. I think they have done something inside the school politics and all that. But paglabas nila ng university, kasi I'm from UP, no? I'm a pol sci, I'm from UP. I was very, very active when I was inside the university in terms of politics and everything. No, I was always outside the classroom, no, organizing something. So pag ako naman kasi ang experience ko, paglabas ko, I think my mind was open na ang idealism has to be put in a proper context and a proper place. And I understood, ang sinasabi kasi lagi ng dad ko na I have only 4 years to study. Pag wala ng 4 years, bahala na ako sa buhay ko. So that was also my guiding light, no? Pero iniisip ko rin, sinasabi kasi ng dad ko before, na pwede kang maging idealistic, pwede mong i-apply yung idealism mo sa mainstream society. Pero sa sinasabi niya lagi, hindi, ang proseso kasi ng change, hindi siya abrupt. It has to go through a process and you have to be patient. So, yun yung experience ko. So, sa akin lang siguro sa mga bata, it's okay to be idealistic. Actually, that's very much needed. Pero ang ano lang doon is siguro yung guidance ng magulang has to be there. And also ipamulat sa mga bata na may mga problema ang society pero it cannot be solved overnight. No? At hindi mo rin masosolve yan ikaw lang. You need to have other people, like-minded people. Pero at the end of the day, ang bottom line kasi, you cannot solve problem by creating another problem. And that's, ang kanilang forma kasi ng left, like especially ng NPAs, no, ang CPP, NPA, is more on armed struggle. No? They want to cut, armed struggle kasi talaga ang bottom line nila eh. And revolution, and the bloody revolution, hindi yung cultural revolution, no? And that I don't believe in that. At the end of the day, I don't believe in those. I don't believe in violence. I don't believe in terrorism. Siguro on my part, when I was in UP, the good thing about me is I was open to so many ideas. Ang problema kasi sa movement, when you're part of it, ang nasasakop lang sa iyo, ang pinapaintindi lang at binabasa mo lang is yung mga materials at ang kanilang idea. And then you are being limited to focus and to have an opportunity to actually know the other side of the story. Yun yung mahirap eh. Pero ang ano ko lang, advice ko lang sa mga bata, especially yung mga younger generation, no, na you have to open to all ideas. Kung ito yung isa, then tignan mo yung kabilang side. And then from there, makikita mo yung both sides, you can have your own conclusion. And guidance ng parents, ng mga tao sa paligid, at saka ng mga teachers, no, is very important. Actually, professors and teachers really has a role to play then. I was very lucky that I had both sides of the fence, no. I have professors who are very left-leaning, and I had professors who are quite center of right of center. So yeah. So from both sides nakita ko, then I have to make my own decision. So right after graduation, what I did is, okay, I have the ideas. I am much more a left person, I think, but I apply it in a concrete way, and I understand that change is not easy. It has to go through a process, and you need to contribute to it, and you need to be persistent. But you don't need violence for it. Hindi na armas ang hawak mo. It's a matter of using your capacity and your ideas and your brain, if you have, to help society. Pero wag yung baril, because I don't believe in violence really.
Well,
and it doesn't.
At the same time, I wanted to point out that many of the children of these NDF leaders, like Sarate, his children are not part of that movement. They some of them are abroad studying, you know, and the son of Carol Araulio, the NDF chairman, who's from UP also, and my peer group or ka-age ko, si Atom Araulio is a star on TV for some of the oligarch-owned media. Ano? Eh bakit sila exempted at itong ibang mga kabataan o nakakabata ay nasasakripisyo ng ganito? That's a very big question I have. Let's now go to Kaado. Kaado, what is your reaction?
Maraming bagay yan eh. And I can relate with Irima because I was president of the College Editors Guild in 1968. And these people were part of my environment. But I guess depende eh. Maraming variables yan eh. Paano ka ba mag-isip Are you emotional?
Mm.
Or do you weigh things? Do you search for the right premises first before making a decision? Because at the end of the day, our future is based on the choices we make in life. If we see very early in our days na hopeless ang sitwasyon ng ating politika, ng ating ekonomiya, and we feed the frenzy of being emotional, making decisions, that is a deep and high ravine to jump. I was tempted myself to go to the boonies. Ay, hindi nyo alam kung ano yung boonies. Bundok so yan. Ginawa ng mga Amerikano na boonies. Una naging bundak based on bundok. And talaga hong ganyan eh. And also the company you keep. Tama si Kaana, tama si Mentong. Mga mamaya tatay mo, sa environment pala sa bahay, sa eskwela, sino naging boyfriend mo, di ba? In this case of Kirima, mukhang nga naging boyfriend niya since college is mas malalim ang involvement, although it is being denied nung siya ay makulong. Nakulong kasi na matagal ang asawa nito eh. So, naging bitter, bumalik. Actually, nandito na siya eh. Bumalik siya sa bumalik siya sa bundok. You know? At dito, what I don't buy here is the statement of the father. Of course, I can understand the father. That she was alive with just one bullet wound in her hands. But the military finishes her off is a little bit different from what I understand is the protocol of NTFL camp. Hindi po ganyan, hindi po mga berdugo ang ating mga sundalo. There are more cases na natamaan na nila, abutan nila ng buhay. They will try, the medics will try to save them. Helicopter pa yan sa ospital. Because the idea here is not really to kill, but just to make them realize that there are other ways. The first choice is you die. The second choice is you surrender. The third choice is you are captured and jailed. Eh bakit hindi ka pa sumurrender at mag-enroll dun sa balik-loob program? And so talagang depende ito eh. Hindi naman sarado eh. Hindi katulad nung panahon na ni Marcos na parang no way out but to fight back. Eh hindi naman eh. Nung martial law lang naman yun, definitely martial law eh. Eh ngayon din naman martial law mas marami pa nga kayo mga freedoms. In fact, may mga representation pa kayo sa Kongreso. My goodness, may budget pa kayo na nanggagaling sa taong bayan. At dahil dyan, nakapag-aaral na inyong mga anak abroad sa mga private institutions. Talagang ganyan. May mga tao din naman na katulad ni Canato Reyes na kumikita sa pag-organize ng demonstration. So, hanap buhay din to. And you feed ako, I don't think that those cadres, all of those are ideologues. No. Karamihan dyan, humawak sa barel as a means of livelihood. Maniwala kayo sa akin dahil sa kahirapan ng buhay. But the poverty rate is going down, down, down. President Duterte is still hoping to bring down the poverty line to 14%, which is the target of his administration before the COVID. Pero baka mag-settle yan sa mga 16, 17. Dahil naudlot ang ating ekonomiya. Pero ang puso po ng administrasyon ito ay hindi para kayo ay lipulin at patayin. Kundi pa-realize lang sa inyo na yung inyong ginagawa ay wala nang kalalabsan kung ang dahas ang inyong hahawakan. Pero kung kayo magbabalik loob, ay, my goodness, 18, lampas na po ng 18,000 na nagbalik loob. Ano
Tanong
pa
lang,
kayo nandyan sa kagubatan? Ang
tanong,
tanong, gusto nyo pa, wala na kayong suporta sa taong bayan. Ang mga taong bayan na ang nagsusumbong kung saan kayo nagtatago, kung saan kayo nagkakampo, kung saan kayo nag-ooperate. Kaya
Kado,
nga, ang dami ng, ang bilis-bilis ngayon eh. Dahil mo to, may isang lugar sa Samar, isang encounter, 19 na patay. Because sinumbong sila ng mga tao na sila ay nagugrupo-grupo in a certain location.
okay, Kado, I'll have to ask this about Joma season. Anong reaction mo? Joma season supposed to be the uh, inspiration, but he is safe and sound in the Netherlands. Unlike, let's say, revolutionaries like Aguinaldo here in the Philippines or Mao Zedong in China, who was in the Yan'an Mountains throughout the struggle until they found victory. This guy, Joe Masison, is enjoying parties and other amenities in Utrecht. And our politicians, of course, are using their power over the budget to try to hinder the efforts to end this insurgency and save the young people that can be saved.
Kaya lang ang problema eh. Kung katanggap-tanggap sa kanila yan, ay ultimo sa mga sarili nila na wala na sila ng respeto. Dahil ang kanilang pinuno, ay wala namang gana yan para kayo ay 52 years, mga kabansa. My goodness. Kailan pa? Ang protracted struggle kay Joma season ay iba sa Marxist na protracted struggle. Lalo na pinagtibay ni Lenin. Iba. Ang protracted struggle nila ay i-protract pistoks and pistoks and all that. Lokohin ang mga tao sa gobyerno para mauto nila sa pistok. Pero wala naman silang intention na ibagsak ang kanilang mga armas. At ang nangyayari dyan, they have constructed a virtual republic, a virtual economy, a virtual political system na sa kanila lang nag-a-apply ang problema eh.
Okay,
Hindi na sila nag-relate sa real politics on the ground.
let's go back to Maestra Ana. Maestra Ana, yung mga politiko, yung si Joma Sison, and I have one more question really. Can armed rebellions still work today?
Actually,
yes.
sa akin kasi I understand these things now because when I was in college, I was exposed to these things. Pero ang sa akin kasi, from my personal perspective, knowing these elements, no, hindi na ako, ang larangan kasi ngayon sa mundo na meron tayo, it's not anymore armed struggle, or it's not anymore revolution in that sense na you have to, topple a government and all that. Iba na po yung iba na po ang larangan natin ngayon eh. Nandiyan na yung, kumbaga, it's not anymore effective kasi nagbago na rin ang condition. Kasi alam niyo po sa movement, alam niyo yan. Ang lagi kasi nilang sinasabi na nasa semi-feudal and semi-colonial ang pa rin ng Pilipinas. So they always say, and there's such a thing as indoctrination kasi. Yun naman kasi yung mga sinulat din talaga ni Joma. Kasi kung titignan mo yung literature at saka kung anong mga sinulat ni Joma, yun din kasi ang tinuturo ng mga kadre sa mga bata. At usually, ang recruits nila ay first year. So, sa mga magulang, ang kailangan po ninyong bantayan dyan is pagpasok po ng anak niyo, lalo na sa university, kailangan tignan niyo kung saan sila sumasaling organization. Kasi po yun ang magde-determine kung ano ang kanilang tatahakin sa university. Kasi pag freshman ka, usually, you're very excited to join. So kapag napasok ka sa isang organization, tignan mo ang Alay Sining is very known in UP to be very left-leaning. At ang kasangga niyan na political party sa UP, Stand Up. I was once part of Stand Up. Actually, I ran for Stand Up when I was in college sa student politics. So I kind of know kung ano yung ano dito. Pero yung ano kasi dyan is, yung armed struggle for me, it's not anymore, it's passe. I don't believe in it. I believe in change, but I believe that you need to work within the system, even though it's so hard. And I believe in education, no? And I also believe that in education, na you educate people about the realities, but you don't educate them saying na, okay, we can only solve the problem by using arms and trying to kill each other. No, that's not anymore the ano of the world.
Okay.
Kasi hindi na po yan yung sistema. Ngayon, ang kailangan natin is much more, I think, proper education ng mga bata. Teaching them the real idealism, no?
We
Yung
have
totoong
we have
idealismo.
we have 35 seconds left, no? So
Oo,
I'll wrap
tapos
it
yung
up.
kay Joma, yung sa part naman po ni Joma, I think
28 seconds. I
parang,
don't think we have time to go into details, no, Maestra.
oo, ang sa part ni Joma, I think this disjointed na ang nasa ground at nasa taas. There's a disjoint. So I don't even believe na they have this ideology still, yung nasa ground. Yun yung
Okay.
paniniwala ko.
So with that, we'll leave these ideas with you, and kayo na po ang lalong mag-analisa po nito, and we will take a break and we will go to our second segment on the collapse of Afghanistan and its impact on the future of the Philippines. Okay, we're now taking a break, so we go back to our things, audience, ano? And basahin ko lang yung mga reaksyon sa ating mga pinag-usapan. Si Ronnie Balgos, Sara for President, no? BBM Sara or Pangulong Digong. And dito naman sa tungkol sa CPP, may Facebook, YouTube, Instagram at Twitter accounts pa nga itong mga alagad ng demonyong CPP NPA. Dito sa kabila, si Alfred Ang sabi, galit siya kay Terima. Terima, sabi niya, isa sa pinakamahusay daw mag-recruit daw yan. Kaya ito, top recruiter ng komunistang terorista ng CPP-NDF. Kaya hindi dapat panghinayangan at kaawaan ang kanyang kamatayan. Okay, medyo malupit yung pananaw, but it is also true. Pero yun na nga ang ating pinag-usapan dito, Maestra Ana and Kaado. First of all, itong armed revolt and armed revolution and civil war is justified only na kung talagang oppressive ang iyong pamahalaan
Sistema.
o yung nag-aaring turi. Pero dito po nakikita natin merong ng injustice pa rin sa lipunan natin, hindi lang sa mga kabukiran, pati dito sa kanayunan natin, mga lunsod natin, may mga injustice, may mga degrees of oppression, marami pang problemang hindi inaayos, pero may mekanismo, may sistema at may hangarin ang buong republika na ayusin yan at lalong pagandahin. At makikita po natin dito sa pandemic na walang pinababayaan hanggang kaya ng pamahalaan at walang sadyang ginugutom. Hindi tulad sa ibang mga nakaraang panahon sa kasaysayan ng bansa, sa kasaysayan ng mundo, talagang nagiging justified po yung paglaban gamit armas tulad ng panahon ng mga Kastila, ang mga praile talagang abusado sa mga mamamayan, yung mga natives na may lupa, ninanakawan at lupa, tinitake over ng mga Espanyol at ng mga simbahan, mga praile and so on. Pero ngayon po, meron kang hinanaing pwedeng dalhin sa korte. Marami pa rin kapalpakan ng korte, pero at least andyan ang mekanismo. Yun ang puntos ko. And secondly, tapusin ko lang ito, Madam Ana. And then yung leadership. Yung leadership kailangan na tapat sa mga followers. At kung anong kahirapan na dinadanas ng followers, yung ang gusto natin makita sa mga leaders. Pero hindi natin nakikita dito, kaya malinaw po nanggogoyo, nanloloko, nanlilin lang yung mga liderato nitong CPP, NDF at NPA. And pangatlong idadagdag ko, malaking money-making machine na po ito. Bilyon po ang estimate at alam naman natin na totoo ito dahil may mga nakakausap tayong mga negosyante, mga malaking mga magbubukid sa probinsya na ginagatasan po ng NPA. Hindi na natin malaman kung meron bang talagang revolusyonaryong ideolohiya o pagsasamantala na lang gamit ng armas na sabi nila ay para sa revolusyon. Madam Ana, so
Sa akin kasi po, gusto ko lang anuhin din na yung isa sa mga issue, kaya hindi ako naniniwala sa the armed struggle for the landless. Yan isa sa mga sinasabi nila. Armed struggle for the landless para magkaroon ng lupa ang mga magsasaka kasi ino-oppress ang magsasaka. Yun lagi. That's actually the rhetoric ever since. But these are not true anymore. Kasi bakit? Sa panahon po ni Duterte, ilang lupa ang nai-distribute sa lahat sa magsasaka. Nandun din naman yung tawag nito, support in terms of agricultural inputs like irrigation, mga seedlings and all that. Ang sinasabi ko lang, hindi po perfect ang gobyerno. Wala naman pong perfect talaga. Pero that doesn't mean as well na you have to you get hold of an yung armaments or military arms at magkipag-away ka just because hindi ka nabigyan ng lupa. Hindi naman po ganun dapat eh. At saka yung ganyang mga rhetorics at saka mga sentimento, matagal na po yan eh. That's before probably 1970s, 70s, 60s, probably hanggang 80s. Pero at this time, nagbabago rin. Nagkakaroon din ng improvement. Kaya lang po, ang mahirap po kasi ang mga bata pong nare-recruit. Kasi yun yung sinasabi ko, very, very crucial na ang mga magulang really has to be very, hindi naman na kontrolin nyo yung mga anak nyo, no? But I think has to know kung ano yung mga ginagawa ng anak nila sa loob ng eskwelahan, ng university, not to the point na i-control mo, but just to have an awareness. Kasi bakit po? Kaya po, tignan nyo, sinasabi nga ni Alfred ang nagagalit siya kay Kirima. Alam nyo, sometimes you cannot blame also the person. Kasi alam nyo kung bakit. From first year or high school pa lang kasi, na-indoctrinate na yan. Sobrang bombarded yan ng indoctrination to the point na hindi nila nakikita yung other side of the story or other side of the world, kumbaga, no, other side of the coin. So kasi ang karamihan sa mga hardcore sa left are actually high school pa lang, ano na yan eh, na-indoctrinate na yan. Tapos papasok ng university, indoctrination pa rin, sila din ay actually ang kanilang role is to recruit kapwa estudyante nila through organization, through different means. Ganon ang modus dyan eh. So, hindi mo mabiblame ang isang bata or isang tulad niya na lumaki at naging ganyan. Dahil precisely yung mind niya was already indoctrinated from the very early stage. Ang hirap po kasi ganon kasi I've been through it eh. You have to unlearn. Mahirap yan eh.
Lalong mahirap kung may mga profesor na pumasok na sa buong
isa pa yan.
Sistema ng paaralan o universidad na yun lang talaga ang pakay sa kanilang ginagawa na maghanap din ng kanilang pwedeng i-indoctrinate at ma-recruit at maipasa sa NPA at sa iba't ibang operation. Diba?
Tama kayo dyan, Mentong. Kasi halimbawa, ito na yung indoctrination mo sa organization. Kasi as in bombarded yan eh. Araw-araw kang may ganyan na pababasahin, ito yung gagawin mo, ganito, ganyan. Puro yan, ang initial step kasi dyan is matter loading. You will be matter loading for the next 2 years. Yeah. So kapag ganyan ang nasa utak mo, when you face the world, talagang iba yung pagtingin mo, no? Tapos before that, then you will be deployed to somewhere else, no? To see the reality. So, yun mahirap. So, ang ano ko lang sa mga bata, be open-minded as well, no? Tingnan nyo kung ano yung talagang pinasalihan nyo. At the same time, mga magulang, I think guidance. Ako I'm very lucky na kahit malayo yung mga magulang ko, especially my dad, he always reminds me of my ultimatum. So I think that's very important.
Okay, it's now 6:45. We'll ask Kaado to wrap up this discussion in a minute, and then we go on to our second taping for the opinion ngayon for Golden Nation Network. Kaado.
Wala na eh. Tapos na yung narrative eh. Tapos na yung narrative nila eh. Kaya ako nalulungkot na nawala yung anti-sedition law eh. Kasi yung anti-sedition law which legalized the Communist Party of the Philippines was the biggest blunder nitong si Fidel Ramos para ma-demilitarize lang yung kanyang image. No? Ang hirap ng, ako talagang dire ako sa matandang yan eh. Ah, para, sus, what's the purpose of that? To ride the fact that Cory Aquino released Joma season? Buti kung katulad ni Bernabe Buscaino na bumalik sa farming, who lived a normal life. Iba kasi pagka nakahawa ka ng baril at some point na nakulong ka eh. Pag nakulong ka, you have a lot of time to reflect on things. In fact, that's the only thing that you can possibly do. Buti kung katulad sila ni Victor Corpus na in fact, bumalik pa sa military para maging isang general. Di ba? May mga tao kasi hindi natututo. Ito si Joma, ugat nito ay kayabangan, personalidad, sarili niya. Kaya gagawin niya lahat para maitaguyod yun. Bakit tayo sasama sa isang taong ganyan? O sabihin niyo sa akin, meron ba isang poste na naitayo to si Joma Sison in the name of development sa Philippines? Ano ang kanyang positive contribution sa society natin? I-contrast niya sa dami ng tao, sa estimate about 50,000 na namatay from both sides in 52 years. Value, ano lang yan value judgment. May mga taong adventurous. So, sige. Okay kayo. You choose the first one, which is mapatay kayo sa batang. Okay. Free choice yan eh. You choose to get arrested instead of surrendering. Okay. Free choice yan eh. Pero makukulong kayo. Or you choose to live like everybody else now, lalo na, alam mo, ang laki ng hinina ng CPP, NPA, NDF dahil dito sa COVID. Dahil yung mga dati nagsusuporta sa kanila, siyempre, imbis na suportahan sila, uunahin yung sarili nila because the question of survival is coming to the picture. Kaya, even the heavens is telling you, people out there na mga taong labas, people who are still outside of the law. Now, this is all insane. This is all wala nang silbi. And kung si Joma Sison lang ang tatanggol ninyo at pinagahari ninyo sa inyong buhay, maawa naman kayo sa inyong mga magulang, maawa kayo sa inyong mga anak. Walang future dyan.
Okay, so thank you very much, Kado and Maestra Ana. Now we move on to the second segment or episode segment of our Opinion Ngayon show on Global or Golden Nation Network. So I'll count down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Kamala Harris, Vice President of the United States, is now on her Asian leg of a tour of the region. And she has just been to Singapore and is proceeding to other countries in the region. In Singapore, she promised the region, Vice President Kamala Harris vowed, quote, enduring engagement, unquote, in Asia last Monday, offering reassurances of Washington's commitment to the region following the United States withdrawal from Afghanistan and the Taliban takeover. My reaction to this is, I put it on that image, isn't that what the US always told its Vietnamese and Afghan allies? Isn't that what the United States tells all its allies whom they eventually leave behind, like the Turks in Syria, like the Libyans who are now in chaos after their removal of Muammar Gaddafi, and so on and so forth. There's a very long list of that. So what should the Filipinos think about this reassurance again from the United States of America? But I'm reminded of Singapore's Prime Minister, Lee Hsien Loong, the son of the former Prime Minister, Lee Kuan Yew. Lee Hsien Loong just a few weeks ago, on August 3, warned the U.S. against a hard line towards China, while the United States is reportedly and claiming to be leaving Afghanistan and Kabul to the chaos that it is now in order to consolidate its resources for its Asian pivot and confronting China. But as the Prime Minister of Singapore reminds us and reminds the US, I don't know whether Americans, he says, realize what a formidable adversary they would be taking on if they decide that China is an enemy. Quote again, in this situation, I would say to both, pause, think carefully before you fast forward. It is very dangerous. And that is from Prime Minister Lee Hsien-loong. Now, there is a debate among Americans themselves. They say, well, this is just a small thing. Kabul and Afghanistan is not that important. We'll be saving money now that we have left Afghanistan, and we can concentrate on Asia and against China. But I chanced across this statement in a 1-hour interview of General McMaster, former advisor who was fired by President Trump because he was advising against what Trump wanted to do in Afghanistan, who says the loss of Bagram Air Base in Afghanistan forces U.S. carriers to stay out of the South China Sea and Indian Ocean, unquote. We have a 2.5-minute video of this interview and statement from 1 hour. I took only 2.5 minutes to highlight this point, that it changes the calculus in the South China Sea, and the U.S. is much, much weaker now without the Bagram Air Base, which is only 400 miles from the western part of China, where the new missile silos of China are being constructed. And he says that the loss of the Bagram Air Base deprives the U.S. of a proximate zone or area to China, where they can have over the horizon advantage in any clash with China. So let's listen to this, and then we will go to our analysts to for their comments on these points. So let's roll it.
Okay, against what were the horrors that we're seeing now, and the whole idea that by leaving Afghanistan in such a horrible condition, that this really helps us compete more effectively with China. I think all of us are watching, what the wolf warrior diplomats are doing now in terms of disparaging the U.S. further and casting us as an unreliable partner and as a declining and failing power. And so it doesn't help us, I don't think, reputationally in connection with the competition with China, and it doesn't help us geostrategically either. We never held Pakistan to account, I think, for their role in this, and of course China is Pakistan's primary sponsor, and I think that will have ramifications across the region as Pakistan probably becomes further destabilized, and that'll cut against Chinese interests as well, I believe. But I think that this is a boon to jihadist terrorists who are a threat really to all humanity, Orville, right? So this is in no one's interest, including China's interests. And then I guess finally I would just say that the disconnect, right, between what we're doing in Afghanistan, we're trying to achieve with China is profound. I mean, I think that that what we did in Afghanistan actually diminishes our ability to compete with China, also in very practical ways, right? So the free up military, Oh, the-
competitiveness or
No, I mean just military assets, Orville, right? So to free up military assets for the competition with China, we withdrew 2,500 troops, and since then have deployed 7,000 troops back to Afghanistan to deal with the catastrophe that we helped catalyze. Then also to free up more air power capabilities, we left Bagram Air Base, right? And therefore now have to fly aircraft in transit for many hours before they can even be on station for this so-called over-the-horizon capability. We have to actually, if we want responsive air, position an aircraft carrier in the Indian Ocean away from the South China Sea to compensate for the loss of the Bagram Air Base. I mean, it is utterly illogical, the idea that we needed to withdraw from Afghanistan to focus, on the big competition. It makes no sense, actually, Orville. Okay, against the horrors that we're seeing now, and the whole idea.
Okay, so ayan po ang words from the horse's mouth, ika nga, no? Na naging malaking kabawasan sa kapangyarihan at kakayahan ng US military dito sa Asia, itong pagkawala ng Afghanistan at Bagram Air Base sa kamay nila. So finally, what then is the lesson for the Philippines or the warning, yung babala sa Pilipinas? Nakita natin, iniwanan ng Estados Unidos ang Saigon in 1975. That is in front of you in the image that we are showing, Saigon 1975, the last helicopter out of the US Embassy. Na pila-pila po sa hagdan, ang mga tao para makasakay sa isang malinggit na helicopter na lang na siyempre hindi magkakasya yung mga tumatakas. Kabul 2021, halos the same scenario. Mas malala pa nga sa airport, yung mga C-130, kinakapitan ng mga tao na gustong tumakas, may kumapit hanggang nahulog na lang at namatay. Anong lumipad yung C-130 or bigger airplanes. And is that what we are going to have with the VFA in the Philippines by 2030? At the end of the second term of the Duterte administration, kung manalo ulit ang Duterte dito sa susunod na eleksyon. Kasi po, maraming analyst na sinasabi, naghahanda ang Estados Unidos para sa giyera sa China for whatever reason, by 2030. Tayo ba ay handa sa mga consequences diyan? Yan ang mga tanong ko sa ating dalawang guest, si Maestra Ana and si Kaado, paglinawan dito sa ating opinion ngayon. So what is your opinion, Maestra Ana?
Sa akin kasi, ang lesson kasi dito sa Pilipinas is we need really to be wiser. And I think we need to think twice when you talk about strategic partnerships, especially when you talk about BFA in the country. Hindi lang, marami talaga ang nag-speculate right now na there will inevitable yung military clash between the two superpowers when the time comes. So that is not an impossibility, no? There is a possibility na magkaroon, there is none. There's also a zero, it's a 50-50 thing. But ang ano lang doon is, ang question is ang Pilipinas. Kasi nga, if you look at yung sinasabi niya, nawala ang Bagram Air Base sa Afghanistan. And Afghanistan, to a certain extent, will be part of the Belt and Road Initiative. So in a way, you can see the strategic positioning din ng Taliban. And you have Russia in there, and you have China. So talagang weaken ang US in that sense. It's very obvious, no? But ang tanong, they are pivoting to Asia, and they have pivoted to Asia already. The mere fact that actually Harris, yung VP, at saka the last time it was actually Secretary Austin, and then there is even this plan that, sino ba yung kanilang Defense State Secretary? Magkakaroon din siya si Blinken, magkakaroon daw, I have read somewhere na magkakaroon na parang Southeast Asia or Asian Conference about strategic partnership in Indo-Pacific region, blah, blah, blah. There's a plan to do that. So nakikita niyo yung movement ng US. So you can see it, no? And you just have to analyze it. So ang tanong dyan, given na nakikita mo yung mga ganito, anong positioning ng Pilipinas? Kasi kung titignan nyo, ang Pilipinas really is very strategic sa geopolitics ng Asia, especially when you talk about competition between China and China and the US. And ang pinaka flashpoint niyan kasi, isa sa mga flashpoints kasi is the South China Sea. The other flashpoint is the Taiwan Strait, no? So sa atin, the US will really try. It's really best to ensure na yung BFA, EDCA, and MDT will be here and will stay. Kasi ang mangyayari kasi niyan, pag hindi natin yan na-resolve yung BFA na yan, and we don't put it in a context or hindi siya ma-revise or hindi siya mawala, ay sa atin mapupunta ang burden. Kasi tayo ang magiging base ng Amerika. That's really, that's something that we really have to open our eyes. Hindi siya, it's not about anti-America. It's not eh. It's really the situation pagdating ng araw. Ganun talaga. Kasi mahihirapan ng Amerika kung manggagaling pa sa Guam or even South Korea or even Japan ang forces in terms of pag nagkaroon ka ng clash. Kasi malalayo-layuan. Ang Pilipinas ang pinakamalapit sa China. That's really a reality, geopolitics-wise. So America will try its best na nandito pa rin ang foothold nila sa atin. So I think Filipinos really has to try its best na you cannot be fooled twice. We should not forget what happened during World War II. Na-bomb tayo, anong compensation wala? Diba? Japan ang prioritize. I don't think we should let it happen again. And we should not forget Afghanistan, Syria, and the rest, no? So I think we really have to be wiser. At the same time, we really need to choose leaders in this country who understand these things, who really understand these things, no? The geopolitics of things, the politics of the world, and how to navigate the whole terrain. Kasi delikado tayo eh.
Okay.
Dalawa lang flashpoint, ha? Taiwan is one, and the South China Sea. And the South China Sea were a main player in there. Kaya pinupush yung issue na yan eh. To create something.
Well,
Yun.
sa South China Sea, mukhang ayos na po yan dahil na may code of conduct na pinag-usapan ng ASEAN with China at lahat ay dinadaan sa dialogue or usapan. Mukhang tinatarget makaraan ng COVID-19 crisis. Magpipirmahan na sa code of conduct. So, dinadrama ng Estados Unidos na rule of law, etc. You know po, code of conduct is there. So we now go to Kaado, Paglinawan.
Well, tama si General McMaster. No? The strategic loss is very obvious naman yan. But looking forward, what do I see being a former diplomat that was based in the US? I think there is already a tacit acceptance on the part of Biden to rebuild the economy first. Yan ang priority. Kasi yan lagi ang priority ng mga Democrats eh. Ang foreign policy at saka yung feeding the deep state has always been a priority of the Republicans. So, yan. Ang prognosis ko dyan, accepted na ni Biden na regional power sila. And this leaving Afghanistan is very symbolic. This is a pagbibigay na ito sa Russia to lord it over in that part of Middle East and in fact Europe. And even the Germans and the British will have to live with that. For the meantime, America dito naman sa tripolar world na. Wala na tayong magagawa dyan. Sa economy naman, it's the Asian century na. Wala na rin sila magagawa. Hindi nila mahahabol ang China. Isang factor lang eh, yung cheap labor. And now converting into a nation of robots doing manufacturing, ay, naiwanan na sila. Sa hypersonics, armaments, offensive armaments, naiwanan na rin sila ng Russia at saka China. Dahil inasikaso nila itong mga petty wars where in Afghanistan they lost 2 trillion in 20 years. Of what? Tapos ngayon, deny nila that they were involved in nation building. Go, come on. Ang hirap dito sa mga Amerikano, lagi nilang ini-impose ang kultura nila at mga filosofiya nila sa mga ibang nasyon. Imbis na pag-aralan, paano kayo ay si Vice President Kamala Harris. What can you assure us of your friendship when you do not even understand us? When you don't try to understand people whom you relate with? Hindi ko na sasabihin states, hindi ko na sasabihin government. This problem in Afghanistan is a clear misunderstanding of what the Taliban are, who are basically Pashtuns, operating in a nebulous boundary between Afghanistan and Pakistan. Pag natatalo, uurong sa Pakistan. Pagka medyo lamado na ng konti, babalik with more recruits into Afghanistan. Paano na natatalo yan? Eh, sabi nga ni McMaster, hindi nyo pinoprosecute yung mga Pakistani dahil takot nga kayo sa China, makaplat China. So, wala na, laos na kayo. And taking an honest and humble position in the tripolar regional power grouping is the best, not only for you, most especially because your economy have to recover the COVID-19. More than 600,000 ang Mentong, kaana ang namamatay na Amerikano. Lalampasan na nila yung record ng H1N1 sa Spanish flu. Oh, tapos may resurgence of the variants. Oh my goodness. At itong Indo-Pacific plans ninyo, wala na yan.
So,
plano pa lang yan. Ang Belt and Road Initiative is way on its maturing stage. Kaya, alisin na lang. Ang problema ko lang Mentong, hanggat nandyan si Batong Bakal sa UP at may access yan sa mga schooling ng AFP at saka PNP on maritime law, masusunog ang kaisipan ng ating military, ng ating mga kapulisan, ng ating gobyerno dahil na-infiltrate ng isang American spy ang ating educational system. Number 2 person ngayon yan sa UP College of Law, Mag-iingat tayo. May mga Trojan horse, hindi lang sa gobyerno, hindi lang sa armed forces, kundi sa ating educational system.
okay, from RAM 820, China's rise is unstoppable. China produces 4 to 5 million STEM, science and technology, engineering, and anong M ito? Mga engineers po, graduates every year. Ano yung M, maestra? STEM. Science, technology, engineering,
Mathematics.
Mathematics. So, we have 5 minutes left dito sa ating diskusyon. Just checking the time, 6 minutes, and so I think it is accepted, and I think Kado is correct that even the Americans are quietly, silently changing their framework and their attitude and beginning to accept, which they will not admit yet publicly, that they will contract to become a regional power in the North American or the American continent. Because that is a proposal of China and Russia, the multipolar world, yung maraming power centers sa mundo at non-interference, pero nagtutulungan, nagko-coordinate ng mga responsibilidad para malutas ang mga common challenges of mankind, yung mga common mga suliranin ng mga bansa sa mundo. Ang mga totoo po dyan ngayon ay hindi po yung kagutuman kasi we have really a lot of production of food, but the distribution and the economics of food distribution ng problema. However, we do have really existential, meaning mga problema na talagang nagbabanta sa buhay ng sangkatauhan. Ano po yan? Pandemya, mga gigantic natural disasters like yung Fukushima tidal wave at nuclear disaster, mga asteroids na dati tens of thousands of years ago devastated the earth and erased a whole species of life like the dinosaurs and so on. Yan ang mga hamon sa mundo po natin. Yeah, so are we coming to see a better world coming closer? That is the opportunity that presents itself. No? Pero dapat malampasan muna itong hegemonic, imperialistic, aggressive, militarist attitude ng ilang mga sektor sa Estados Unidos. Yung warning ni Premier or Prime Minister Lee Hsien-loong. Hindi po tulad ng mga text dito sa atin, hindi po Libya yan, hindi po Syria yan, hindi po Iraq yan, hindi Afghanistan ang China. This is a major power and it is...
Tom,
yes, Kaado.
dagdag lang. Kaya yung politicization ng COVID-19, pinupush pa rin yan ng mga Republicans precisely because they're picking a fight with China. Pero ang ginawa ni Biden, sige, mag-imbestiga muna kayo mga intelligence, pero wala namang development. May nabalitaan ba kayo doon na findings ng mga intelligence? Wala. So, pinupush pa rin nila yun. Kaya ang politicization ng science in so far as is not just to escape the responsibility of the United States and its accountability to the world about COVID-19. It's more than that. It is really to pick a fight with China on the military level, besides the politics and the economy, para ma-push si Biden to adopt the Republican line. Pero I don't think that is, we have anything to worry about that in the horizon.
Okay, we have 2.5 minutes left. Mr. Ana, first to you and then to Kaado. So has the fall of the Americans in Afghanistan and Kabul and the new Taliban government rising in that country, and is it going to be good or bad for the Philippines? 1 minute.
For me, I'm very skeptical about US, no? Kasi when you talk about US strategy, kahit nag-fall of Taliban, they left Afghanistan. You have to understand that from the very start, since Second World War, after Second World War, ang US strategy is yung tinatawag mong Wolfowitz Doctrine. Ano yun? Ang sinasabi ng doktrina yan, to ensure that the US should maintain its position as the only world superpower. Ganun talaga ang strategy nila. And even until now, with this Indo-Pacific strategy, pivot to Asia and all that, it's still within that strategy. So I'm very skeptical about this. But still, at the end of the day, sinasabi ko nga lagi, I would always go for peace.
Okay.
Kahit cliche man siya, I would always go for it. But still, Filipinos has to be very wise.
Okay. But I will just add to that maybe after Saigon fell and Kabul fell, they've learned the lesson that it does not earn the United States as a whole to have more wars in the future. So let's go to the last minute, Kaado, paglinawan.
Well, the Philippines will be better off on the ground kasi the US has been taken away a lot of wherewithal in order to do its provocations in the world and to manifest its presence in as many countries as they want to be. But remember, may mga bayaran, may mga tao dito sa Pilipinas na kumikita, hindi lamang sa ng payola, kundi sa kanilang mga negosyo, kasama ang mga Amerikano. At yung mga yan, sina Del Rosario, sina Pangilinan, at ang kanilang mga ilk sa loob ng akademya, sa loob ng media, sa loob ng society, ay hindi titigil.
Okay.
Dahil kailangan maghanap buhay ng mga yan.
We have to say goodbye for now and thank you for that final words of wisdom from Kaado Pagdinaon. We'll see you again next week dito po sa Opinion Ngayon dito sa Golden Nation Network. Thank you very much and take care in the next week ahead until we meet you again. Okay, yun po ang second segment ng ating Opinion Ngayon sa Golden Nation Network, sa GSAT and satellite cable and free TV in many of the provincial cities po and very soon sa Enero po ng 2022, free TV in Metro Manila na po. Okay, so we're now back to Power Things. Let me read some of the comments dito sa last discussion natin. Sabi dito ni Jolito, tumalon. Sabi ni Jolito kasi may bagong pumasok. Galing kay Jesusimo. Ipatang, hello, Jolito Argeles. Sumasagot siya doon kay Jolito Argeles. And ano yung sabi ni Jolito? Yan matutunaw at mawawala sa mapa ang Pilipinas pag pumayag magkaroon ulit ng base militar ang Kano sa Pilipinas. And dito naman sa YouTube, let's see. Dito kay Tasio Del Mar, after the US abandoned Afghanistan, perhaps there is a semblance of truth about Afghanistan's curse or being the graveyard of empire. Okay, and mamaya po, pag-usapan din natin ulit yung COVID-19 and maybe this comment from Anacela Watson, we will mention now, we will already read, COVID-19 is a pandemic kasi inibawi na ang Federal Reserve ma-expire ang American corporation. Of course, that's one theory we are aware of. We will see if we can analyze that later on. Freddie Villanueva, I watch your program because very informative. Pero sabi niya ulit, dagdag niya, BBM for President. From, let me see, Ernesto de Guzman. The answer is Bongbong Marcos to win his president to solve the problem of our country, the poverty of the people. Let me see, Pinay Paparazzi, ano sabi dito? In answer to Mark Lenatona, ang mapapayo ko sa iyo ay huwag mong masyadong seryosoin ang sinasabi ng Pilipinas. Do your own reading para masalag mo yung mga sinasabi niya. Kasi meron natang comment earlier na may mga teacher nang brainwash na. Okay, let's see. Okay, this other thread. Sabi ni Jolito Argelius, meron ang Amerikano kaya maghihirap ang bansa na yan. Well, malapit na po if you analyze the economy and financial situation of the States of America. Sabi ni Florence Economist, paminsan-minsan, check kung ano ang subject matters ng bata, pagka-uwi ng bahay. Magandang gabi. This is in reaction to yung payo ni Maestra Ana at ni Kaado na dapat ang mga magulang ay sinusubaybayan yung development kahit na nasa universidad na. Si Jim Kabawadan sabi, the government should offer superior ideology. Yung kanyang mungkahay ay Filipinismo or Philippinism against the communist ideology.
I would comment on that.
Sige.
I agree with him. Kasi ganito yan eh. Ang CPP-NPA, the first approach is to offer an ideology and an idea that you can have a just society by doing this and that and that. So I think it's high time as well for the other side, no, the sector, if it's government, to offer a better idea, no? Kasi it's a battle of ideas as well. Eh. It's not just about armed struggle. No. Sa armed struggle, yung mga guerrilla nila ng mga NPA na nasa bundok, guerrilla ang tawag sa kanila eh. That's the secondary part eh. The first part is actually the idea itself. Yung mga bata na nabi-brainwash at nali-indoctrinate, they are there, they are very strong. Ay, yung anak nga ng isang kaibigan ko, si Relisa, nabawi ng anak bayan, diba? Kasi nasa kanila na, nabawi. Why is that? Precisely because of the idea na nakatatak doon sa utak. Mahirap yung mabuwag eh, pag nandyan na. So you have to offer an alternative or a better ideology ba yan, idea ba yan, that would counter that ideology na pinopromote or idea na pinopromote ng mga kaliwa. Ganon talaga po. It has to be like that.
Okay, so let's move on to the other issues that we have lined up for our Power Things tonight. Una-una, of course, itong 2 araw, 3 araw na nakaraan, yung anunsyo ng PDP laban na kanilang ina-adapt o nino-nominate inonombra si Presidente Duterte bilang Vice Presidente na kandidato ng PDP laban at si Bongo bilang presidential candidate. Seryoso ba to? Ito ba ay isang temporary setup lang para malihis ang mga kritisismo doon kay Sara Duterte na meron din namang mga marami, hindi lang ilan, kundi maraming tumutulak na tumakbo sa pagka-presidente. And then of course there's Bongbong Marcos. Si Sara Duterte naman may sagot sa mga plano ng ama niya at sabi nga ng mga supporters tulad ni Peter Q. Lavinia, supporter ni Sara Duterte, may sariling isip si Sara Duterte at may ibang mga plano din si Sara Duterte. Sumagot naman itong si Presidente Duterte na aatas naman siya pagkatatakbo ang kanyang daughter. Am I correct, Maestra Ana? Very quick
Opo,
answer
sinabi
lang.
po.
Sinabi niya, no?
Yes po.
Okay. And Kado, what do you hear sa grapevine, sa politika? Ano bang totoo talaga? Pero huwag po tayong masyadong umasa na ito ay mga permanenteng mga desisyon na dahil tulad ng sinabi ko kanina sa umpisa lang ng ating diskusyon, ang politika po ay nagbabago araw-araw hanggat yung final day. Kado.
Ay nilabas sa social media statement si Sara. At dahil lang dito, papakita lamang na talagang independent-minded itong lady na ito, no? Itong mayor natin ng Davao. Pero mas mukhang malakas ang impluensya ng kanyang ina sa kanya kaysa sa kanyang tatay. Yun ang problema. Ang sabi niya doon, sige, tuloy niyo yan. Ano ba? Pero huwag niyo akong isasabit sa mga gulo ninyo. Yun ang basically ang message ni Sara. No? And doon sa Facebook ngayon, binanggit niya si Coco Pimentel at si Ron Munsaya na dinadawit siya rin sa gulo. Layo-layo naman ni Sara Duterte. Hindi nga gusto nga niya, ibaba na ninyo yung mga tarpo ninyo at mga billboard, lalo na pagka wala mga permits daw yan. Dahil wala siyang kinalaman yan. Wala pa siyang nilalabas about any definitive plans about 2022. Kaya sabi niya kay Ron at saka kay Coco, huwag na ako damay dyan sa pulos niyo. Bahala kayo dyan. Kung ako'y gagawa ng kilos ko, it will be on my own and not on the basis of what you or implicitly even my father wants me to do. So talagang napakaaga pa. At sabi nga natin sa November 15, yung bagong deadline ng substitution, yun lang kung magkakaalaman talaga sa November 16 kung ano talaga ang pagbubutuhan ng tao. But for the meantime, maganda ito nangyayari lalo na sa kapalpakan ni Manny Pacquiao na nagkaroon ng pagbabangon at paggising ang kampanya ni Bongbong Marcos. Kasi bilang demokrasya, mas maraming qualified na tao ang going forward, mas dapat nagse-celebrate tayo. Aba, kung mga Pangilinan, mga Leni Robredo, mga sino pa, si Isko, kung sino pa, di ba? O si Drilon, kung mga, Diyos ko, mga anak ng lupa, yung mga yan. Ang pagpipilian natin, nakawawa naman itong ating demokrasya. Talagang napakalayo na natin doon sa exceptionalism ni Ferdinand Marcos, where governance should be run on the basis of excellence. Hindi lamang sa programa, kundi sa mga taong ilalagay sa gobyerno.
Okay. Kado, ang gusto ko lang idagdag dyan, of course, sa mga superstars sa mga nababanggit natin mga pangalan, Duterte, Sara, Bongbong, and so on. Pero mapapansin po ninyo sa mga bansa na matagumpay po ang politika nila ay may partidong matibay. ang China, ang Communist Party of China, hindi po basta-basta na mga tinayo lang para sa eleksyon. Yan habang buhay pag miyembro dyan. 95 million ang miyembro na assign po ng liderato ang mga party members na pumunta sa bundok at magtrabaho doon, tumulong sa development. Dito ba, ganyan? Hindi po. Kahit na anong partido puro mga laki sa layo, mga sumasali. Di ba? But nabanggit mo si Pacquiao at ito po ang susunod na item na natin Babalik daw si Pacquiao sa pagkatalo niya doon sa laban kay Uga ba yun? But anyway, to serve Ugas, whatever the name is, he's coming back to serve the Filipinos. Ang reaction ko naman, baka overreach na naman yan tulad ng overreach niya. Sobrang malayong inaabot niya doon sa laban niya kay Ugas. And sa edad niyang 42, ano? So, uuwi daw siya at to serve the Filipinos. Mukhang meron pang pinipilit na asim si Pacquiao sa kanyang interview doon abroad. Sabi niya may systemic corruption daw sa Pilipinas. As if he's the first one to know that. So, yeah, natawa ka, Maestra. Reaction mo?
Hindi. Sabi mo, as if he is the first one to know that. I think everyone knows that, no? Hindi na niya dapat yung gawing issue. Kasi issue na yan, matagal na. Hindi pa siya buhay sa mundo. Issue na yan. Kasi he is the same age with me, no? Pacquiao. So, I would rather say na hindi pa kami buhay. May corruption na. So, hindi yan surprise. It's not like that. No?
Maganda yun.
Pacquiao, hindi surprise. Oh, you make it as like what? Your campaign banner or like your what? Hindi yun lahat ng kumandidato sinabi niyan. Lahat ng nagpresidente sinabi na yan. Hanggang ngayon may corruption pa rin. Hindi pa ako buhay sa mundong ito, meron na. So please, try to be more, ang ko kay Pacquiao is try to create at try to have something na platform mo na medyo may originality. Hindi yung ganyan. Kasi nakakatawa.
Yeah. Alam po ninyo yung corruption, yung Afghanistan is an example of supreme corruption ng Estados Unidos. Bakit po? Nung nagsimula po kung ikaw ay nag-invest sa US defense industry noong 2001, nung nagsimula ang Afghan War, na $10,000, today, yung iyong $10,000 na pinuhunan po will be $100,000. Pag ikaw ay namuhunan sa Lockheed, Raytheon, yung mga defense or war industry corporation. Ganyan po ang corruption nila na nakatago po sa gera. Okay, anyway, kunwari, gera for democracy, gera for this, for that. So actually, tubo yan. Yeah, Maestra, then we go to Acado.
Ang magandang tanong na dapat niyang sagutin kung kakandidato siyang presidente is how he will possibly and concretely, not rhetorically, address corruption. Na ma-address nga ba niya? Kasi corruption is not an issue ngayon. At saka yan, ay sa akin, sa pagtingin ko, I actually wrote an article about it. It's part of our culture na. No? Nagiging part na siya, endemic siya sa Pilipino. Kasi kung titignan mo, kahit sa maliliit na bagay, kahit ngayong bond paper lang, Diyos ko, ang dami kong nakitang empleyado ng gobyerno na kahit makukuha ng 5, 10 na bond paper, uuwi sa bahay. Ito hindi corruption. Yan yung sinasabi ko, endemic siya sa Pilipino. So ang tanong, kung kakandidato siya, huwag niyang ibalandra na may endemic, systemic corruption. Alam na natin yan. Ang tanong, paano mo susolbahin ang corruption? How it would be different from the current administration? Yan challenge.
Okay. That's a very good point, Maestra. And now I'll go to Kaado after just this additional item about Manny Pacquiao. Sabi ko nga dito sa next image po, di ko akalain, Presidenteng Balasubas pala si Pacquiao. Well, this is because si Mike Hanopol ay naglabas po ng daing niya sa Facebook, na meron pala silang kasunduan ni Manny Pacman nababayaran siya sa ilang mga awit na gagawin niya, isasalin niya mula Hebrew to Filipino. Ano? And ito, quoting Mike Hanapol, sabi ni Pacman, gusto niyang makatulong, hindi importante ang pera sa kanya, sabi niya. Eh bakit ayaw mo ako bayaran? Nagpagawa ka ng Hebrew song sa akin. Hebrew song pa lang pinagawa. I spent money on studio and musicians. Hindi mo naman ako binayaran. Saan ang tulong na sinasabi mo? Di ka na naawa, matanda na ako, niloko mo pa ako. Pero to be fair to Pacquiao, nung lumabas po ito, mukhang agad-agad inayos po niya at nagsalita na ulit si Mike Hanapol na naayos na nila. But anyway, this is just addition. Ano ka, Ado? Marami kang alam kay Pacman.
Napakarami ng estilo magkolekta sa mga politiko. Ganyan dapat ang gawin para makakolekta kayo dahil kung aasahan ninyo yung mag-aabogado pa kayo, lalo kayo hindi makakolekta dyan sa mga abogado na yan. Ang akin dyan ganito, ako'y tinanong ng grupo na yan kung ano ang pinakamagandang gawin para hindi na masalang si Pacquiao sa mga, alam nyo, karamihan ng mga kalokohan ang nangyayari ginagamit sa pangalan ni Pacquiao ay kagagawan ho ni Coco Pimentel. Ron Monsayak yung tuta ni Coco Pimentel. At yan ay triad ni Coco Pimentel, ni Albi Benitez at ni Mikey Romero. Dahil, siyempre, gusto ni Albi, si Albi ho, at saka si Mikey, yan ang number 1 and number 2 billionaires sa Congress. At gusto nila, no-rich sila, pag nanalo si Pacquiao, take over nila yung mga oligarchies. No? Vested interest eh. Kaya ngayon, sila namumuhunan dyan. Puro naman mga utak lamok ang problema sa kanila. Kaya sabi ko, sa grupo ni Pacquiao na who are earnestly wanting to campaign for him and who are loyal to him, alisin nyo muna sa eksena yung mga yan. Dahil hanggat yung mga yan in charge ng messaging ni Pacquiao, walang mangyayari because Coco Pimentel has an oppositionist condition reflex na mana sa tatay niya, mana kay Ninoy Aquino, mana kay Noynoy Aquino, na may halo pang vindictiveness, na lalo na yung mga si Denny Pimentel never got to anywhere except Senate presidency at natanggal pa rin. So, yung ambitions, false ambitions na yan ni Denny Pimentel is now manifesting in Coco. Sino ba si Coco? Diyos mio! Ha? Yung unang patilangan niya, napabayaan eh. He can't even put his personal life in order. Ngayon na lang, na sinuwerte siya, nakatanggap siya ng medyo matino, na masusupil siya. Na medyo, kinukonsinti siya na asawa. Pero hindi pwede dyan yung mga independent minds, yung mga so sabi ko, alisin nyo muna yung mga yan, at ang susunod yung gawin, tama si Ana, explain mo sa mga tao kung bakit hindi yung anti-Duterte, anti-administration, anti-establishment, luma na yan. Lahat tayo gumawa yan eh. Pero, explain mo sa mga tao, number 2, kung bakit ikaw dapat ang iboboto ko. Yan ang sabihin mo sa mga tao. Bakit hindi si Isko? Bakit hindi si Lenny? Bakit hindi si Sara? Bakit hindi si Bongo? Bakit hindi si ganun, si ganito? Bakit ikaw? Kasi yung boto is for you. Ano ba plataforma mo? Ano bang gagawin mo sa Pilipinas?
Napakinggan naman natin yung mga audience natin po. No? Maganda itong comment ni Dalgit Pasamonte. To serve the Filipinos, kamo? Who is going to believe him? he has already given us a disservice by his absenteeism in the Senate, going on his boxing and leaving his job whenever it suits him. I think that's a very, very appropriate reaction.
Which is true. It's true. It's really true. Tapos ngayon, mamaya lang, comment to. Tapos yung nag-file pa si Pimentel ng politika talaga ni Pimentel. Nag-file siya ng resolution na i-honor daw si Pacquiao sa laban nila ni Oga, natalo siya. Patanong, bakit mo siya i-honor? Absent na nga lagi. O-honor mo pa. Sus Mario, namumuli kasi Pimentel eh.
Ang take ko dyan ganito, dahil may naglabas, si Kikay Pimentel, kumalaman kung ano yan lalaki ka ba? Ano ka puro bakla mga ideya mo? Ha? Ang sabi, ang patriotic daw yung mga hindi sumusuporta kay Pacquiao doon sa boxing kay Spencer at kay Ugas. Paano naman na-involve ang patriotism doon sa Ugas? Sus Mario, nagpunta doon yung tao para maghanap buhay.
Precisely.
At meron pa siyang iniisip na isa pa. Alam niyo ba yun? Isang bulat ko na. Sa Disyembre, lalaban uli dyan ang plano niya. Meron pang laban niya na isa.
Delikado po kasi kita po natin yung utak mahalaga po sa isang presidente. Doon sa Estados Unidos, merong medyo ulyanin na ni Biden. Dito magkakaroon tayo ng kalugnaang utak sa kakaboksing na presidente. Parang mahirap na ata tanggapin yan. Let's move on. Isang magandang balita naman ito. No? We'll move away from Pacquiao na po. Ito po, maganda namang development ito. Solon seeks congressional inquiry into Facebook's controversial censorship policy. Ito po si anak kalusugan party list Michael Defensor, party list congressman, na hiniling sa lower house leadership na tawagin ang mga executive ng social media giant Facebook Incorporated to respond to questions about its controversial censorship guidelines. And syempre, yung fact-checker nila ay aking mga paborito, si Maria Ressa at si Ellen Cantecillas. Akong gumawa po nitong image na nasa screen po ninyo. No? And so this is a good move. At tularan po natin ng mga Singapore at ibang mga bansa na talagang sinabihan na itong Facebook na sumunod sila sa mga standards naman ng bansa na pinapasukan po nila at hindi po itong ilalagay yung mga gusto nila lamang mga fact-checker. I think we should really respond and we should communicate with Mike Defensor about this to help him pursue this case.
Support him.
Yes, let's support him. Maestra and Kaado.
Support him kasi this is very crucial. Why? We have 2022 election. Sa election na yan, social media is a big factor kasi nga may COVID pa rin by that time. So social media, when you talk about campaigning and all, kapag hindi yan sila tumino, yung mga fact-checker, ang mangyayari niyan, ika-crackdown yan ang hindi kumaayon sa yellow cards. So kailangan yan kailangan suportahan si Congressman Mike dito.
Yeah,
so balance the playing field, no? I-balance natin yung playing field sa social media kasi ngayon pa nga lang, sobra na ang crackdown sa mga government supporters, yung mga social media bloggers na mga ilalakas, ilang beses nakaka-lockdown, no? Ilang beses, isang buwan, 2 buwan.
Siguro we should invite Mike Defensor to our discussion one of these days, no? And Sunday show natin. Kado, before you go ahead.
Natatawa ko doon sa mga sharing ng mga bumabalik after i-lockdown sila na Facebook. Parang COVID. Anyway, pumapalakpak ako kanina. Bakit? Unang-una, Mike, imbestigahan mo kung saan humuhugot ng kwarta itong 2 babaeng to. Wala akong pakialam kung T-bird sila o may cancer sila. Pinaglalaroan nila ang kaisipan ng taong bayan. So, unang-una, saan kumukuha ng pera? Pangalawa, this is a form of terrorism. Grabe ito mga to. Nagpapanggap ng mga guardians of human rights, of freedoms. Ha? Tapos sila mga censors. Tigilan nyo na kami. Alam naman namin ang agenda nyo. Ang yayaman na ninyo, tumigil na kayo. Ha? At pangatlo, isara na yung Mira files na yan, isara na yung Rappler na yan. Ha? At itong dalawang ito ay gawing persona non grata. Dapat ang Commission on Human Rights is active here. Because these two women and their outfits are violating our rights and our constitutional freedoms. Bakit? Pagka pabor sa inyo, okay. Pagka hindi pabor sa inyo, hindi okay. This is terrorism through the use of information media.
Okay.
So,
marami pa ako sanang idadagdag dyan, pero the next item is also very important and interesting. But briefly lang, Kaado, your article po na lumabas sa Sovereign PH, three-part article pala ito, corruption or COA corruption. Pero medyo parang lumilipas na itong issue na to, yung issue sa COA flagging.
Bukas lalabas yung part 2. Dito sa part 1, una itong legalist. Masyado namang naging legalistic ang diskurso. Noong una magandang dating Pero nung banda ko medyo legalist na, unang-una po, walang prosecutory powers ang COA. Pangalawa, hindi po nagpa-flag ang COA. Meron lang sila by their constitutional mandate, a procedure and a deadline to make a report, and they publish that in their website. So pangatlo, ano ba talaga ang problema? Dahil sinamantala ng oposisyon. Alam mo, kausap ko si Charlie Manalo. Sinakyan, sabi ni Charlie Manalo, ng special operations ng oposisyon itong objective reporting ng COA sa kanyang website. So, napiko ng presidente. Yan ang isa pa naging problema dito. Medyo, nung una kasi, this is the third time na ang COA has been under the, I would say, the bullying of the president. Nung una, pinatutulak pa niya sa hagdanan niya mga yan. Nung pangalawa, pinakikidnap pa niya. And ngayon, wag nang pansinin yung report. Wag naman, Mr. President. No? Maintain your independence from the constitutional bodies. Tapos, nag-reconcile naman ang President at sabi, sige, lagyan na lang ng disclaimer ng COA ang reporting niya. So, ang pangatlong puntos ko rito, this is a genuine opportunity for the President to, instead of having some sort of a conflict with COA, sakyan ito. Para nakita niyo ba kami itong yung listahan ng mga flinag na pinadala ko sa ating Viber group? Nung makikita ko yun, natauhan ako. At ito palang problema sa DOH, hindi lang isa, hindi lang sa COVID. There are 9 more. No? Marami talaga. And it's already forming some sort of a pattern of impunity. Yan ang gustong-gusto ng mga totoong criminal sa gobyerno, totoong mga korap Sasakyan nila yan. Hahanapin nila yung loophole at sasakyan nila yan. Kung ako presidente, patatawag ko sa Malacanang lahat ng mga yan. Whether you are close to me or far from me. Patatawag ko kayong lahat. At sasabihin ko sa head of agency ninyo na pupuntahin ko sa Malacanang, ayusin nyo ito in the fastest possible time dahil ako pinuputukan. Ganun dapat ang tatay, sabi nga ni Haiti Mendoza, ang tatay ng pamilya. Huwag mong awayin ng COA, Mr. President, dahil walang pupuntahan yan eh. Wala namang ngipin niya mga yan eh. Wala namang pangil. Ang, ang problema nito, Aguinaldo, when he testified before Congress, missed a golden opportunity. Na yung MOA nila ni Morales, which was well-intentioned, ay sabihin niya sa mga congressmen, pwede ho ba gumawa kayo ng batas para itong MOA na ito ay maging batas, pero lagyan naman ng mga safeguards para sabi nga ni Martires, ay hindi magamit sa hindi tamang pamamaraan.
Okay,
At
okay.
hindi mabawasan. Kasi yung kaso ni Echevarri, Mentong, dahil sa pagmamadali ni Morales, na-dismiss. O paano ngayon? Paano natin hahabulin ngayon on the basis of technicalities sa mga yan? Dala-dala nila yung mga perang ninakaw nila? Wala na.
Okay. Okay,
Hindi na
Kaado,
pwede. Demanda.
mag-curfew na, mag-aalas 8 na. It's now 7:47, so we'll move on. No? So thank you for that detailed exposition ng iyong article, Kaado. May magandang reaction dito tulad ng sweet potato trucker. Malicious talaga ang report ng COA. Actually, ang malicious po ang media at ang opposition po natin at mga kumakandidato sa pagka-presidente na ginamit po itong inosenteng report ng COA. Naglabas naman ang COA ng clarification na wala naman silang sinabing corruption. Yun lang, siyempre, lumaki na ng gumugulong yung mga propaganda dyan. Okay, let's move on. Ana, if you have anything to add to this, but ipapasok ko na lang dahil nga din may mga reaction dito about the coronavirus. Patapos na pa kasi po yung 90 days na period na inanunsyo ni Biden na imbestigahan ng kanyang intelligence agencies yung Wuhan lab leak theory. Ano? Pero ito po sa harap po ninyo na image, ginawa ko marami lang, mahaba lang mga salita po dito, kaya ako na magbabasa ng importanteng mga parte. Si Robin McKee, science editor ng The Guardian, mismo ang nagsasabi na the Wuhan lab leak theory is more about politics than science. Politika po ng Amerika po para mahilihis sa mga issue na talagang sila ay may problema sa virus na yan. No? And nilagay ko ulit yung USA Today na balita, Inside America's Secretive Biolabs. Lumabas po ito noong 2015 pa, wala pa pong coronavirus crisis. Inaamin na at inuulat ng USA Today yung napakaraming lab experiments sa coronavirus at mga lab leaks na napilitan si Obama na magsara po pansamantala ng mga maraming biolaboratory na pinoponda ng American government. This is a cluster of several, no? Then I'll go back to you, Pero ang magandang balita, magagawa din sana natin ito dito kasi sa China, malapit na po silang maka-herd immunity. Sabi ng kanilang top virologist, si Zhong Nan, China likely to achieve herd immunity by the year end 2021, katapusan ng 2021, with 80% population vaccinated, top respiratory expert Zhong Nan said. And more good news, China hit zero COVID cases with a month of draconian curbs ayon sa Bloomberg News. Cases are back to zero itong Agosto. Tumaas nung katapusan ng Hulyo kahit na with the Delta virus kanilang nasugpo at zero cases na ngayon ulit. China returns as the biggest country posting zero COVID cases. And again, good news, 2 shots of Chinese inactivated vaccines effective in curbing Delta virus. Reported co-authored by epidemiologist Song Nanza. A study which were published in the journal Emerging Microbes and Infections said the 2 shots of Chinese inactivated vaccines are 70.2% and 100% effective in preventing moderate symptoms and serious symptoms. Yung 100% sa serious symptoms at 7.2% doon sa moderate symptoms. And then, let me see kung meron pa dito faster na to. Kung Singapore naman, kinulong ang isang taga-Britannia, Britain, to 6 weeks in prison for not wearing a face mask. Anyway, yung leksyon po dyan, dapat matigas din tayo dito sa mga puti, tulad sa Singapore. Nang talagang may rule of law. Okay, and by the way, isasalaysay ko lang, si Kajun Simon, dating mayor ng Quezon City, matalik na kaibigan at kasama po natin at sometimes guest po natin, tinamaan ulit ng COVID-19 pangalawang beses na po. Ang unang beses niya ay noong nakaraang taon pa ata, no? Noong unang paglabas po niyan, ating binigyan ng Yanhua Qingwen, yung Chinese herbal medicine, na proven again to be effective sa Delta at gumaling siya. Walang tigil po yan si Kajun Simon, lakad ng lakad, nagpabalak na kumandidato sa pagkapungan itong darating na eleksyon. Napakaraming meeting, tapos tuloy pa rin ang kanyang negosyong housing projects sa Mindoro at kung saan-saan. Sabi niya, medyo sinagsususpetsyahan siya, tinamaan siya ngayon na-infect siya ng isang konsehal, ano? Pero siya ay fully vaccinated sa Sinovac, 2 beses na. At nag-ivermectin pa siya every 4 days before, ano? Ngayon, every day siya habang siya ay may COVID-19. Pero nag-ivermectin na siya. Tinamaan pa siya ulit. Kahapon tinawagan ko, today tinawagan ko, mataas pa naman daw ang oxygen level niya, wala siyang lagnat, pero masakit ang baga niya. Pero importante mataas ang oxygen level niya. Anong leksyon po dito sa aking sinasalaysay? Kahit may vaccine ka na, kahit nag-ivermectin ka na, kailangan pa rin mag-ingat. Ano? And so, yan ang lesson of the story. Mukhang hindi naman po lalala ng malala itong natin today. Katatawag ko lang bago nagsimula tayo ng programa. Malakas pa naman ang boses, okay pa naman ang oxygen level niya. Let us all learn this lesson. So I go back to you, Maestra Ana and Kaado, itong cluster ng virus updates. What do you think about this?
Sa akin po yung sa issue pa rin ng na 4th District at saka ibang laboratory. Hanggang ngayon wala pang lumalabas na decision coming from WHO. Still tama nga po, it's about yung Wuhan lab. It's politicized talaga yan. And until now, it's being used as politicization pa rin ang nangyayari. Pero sana nga po, yung WHO, magkaroon sila ng balls to actually do something. Doon sa clamor ng 25 million Chinese or more, at saka yung petition natin, at saka ng ating mga kasama, na malaki na rin yung nararating, no? I mean, to be fair, at ipakita nila na, we're, kasi ano sila UN body. Pag UN body ka, you're above all dapat in terms of principle, no? And you don't play politics. So, ganun dapat ang attitude So, dapat ipakita yun ng WHO. Doon naman po sa issue ng ng COVID-19, lalo na itong Delta. Tama po, talaga. Kahit hindi Delta, kahit anong variant yan, dapat mag-ingat kahit na may protection na tayo na, tawag nito?
Fully vaccinated.
Fully vaccinated. Kasi hindi yan issue lang na severe, maiwasan na yung severe at saka yung pagkamatay. Issue din yan na hindi ka makatrabaho, hindi ka makagalaw kasi nasa quarantine ka or may sipon ka or actually kahit asymptomatic ka, kailangan kang i-quarantine So, for the next 14 to 15 days, nakakulong ka. So, that's actually, it's much more the economic side of it Ako mas gano'n ako mag-isip Hindi ko kaya nung gano'n kasi yung economic side, paano ako mag-work, paano yung business, paano yung ganito, ang mga anak ko, sino mag-alaga, So, mas ganun pa ako. So, we really need to protect ourselves na rin. Yung mask pa rin at saka yung face shield. Saka natuwa ako sa Singapore. Tingnan niyo ang Singapore po. Foreigner pa yon talagang kinulong. Pero dito sa atin, mga Pilipino, pinapa-social distancing nga lang, nagre-reklamo pa at nagrarally. Di ba? The attitude really. At saka yung enforcement ng rules, I think kailangan lakasan. Pero ang problema sa Pinoy, pag nilakasan mo yan, in-enforce mo yan, sasabihin na agad na you're violating human rights. Blah, 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 blah. Ganon ang problema dito sa Pinas.
Okay.
Anyways.
From AD, sabi niya, I love SG or Singapore and their love for the rule of law. Ado, ikaw naman, ano ang reaction mo dito?
Meron kayo nilagay dito sa Bible group natin. Babalikan ko lang to issue to. In-interview yung Taliban. What's the first thing you're going to do? Ang sabi ng Taliban, learn Chinese. Sabi nga, wisdom. Ako'y natutuwa mga kabansa na medyo nasusustain tayo ng mga ibang mga media, katulad nitong isang nilabas ng video tungkol kay Barrick. Ano nga bang apelido nun ng Mentong?
Ralph Barrick.
First Ralph Barrick. At nagsasanga po ang aming findings, yung libro ko at saka yung video, no? At medyo na homesick ako dahil ang Baltimore po ay 1 hour away lang from where we live in Springfield. Ang pinakikita doon yung yung Baltimore, lalo na yung Inner Harbor, which I have been telling since Dick Gordon was Secretary of Tourism. Dinala ko pa si Gordon dyan, mga kabansa, sa Inner Harbor ng Baltimore para gayahin ng ating Manila Bay kung paano nila ginawa yung isang abandoned area ng harbor para dito sa ating North and South Harbor. Yung mga visual nila puro doon lang karamihan, pero yung konteksto ay napakaganda po dahil beyond my milestone of June 30, 2019, ay in-extend pa nila up to 2014 and 2008 yung historiography ng SARS-CoV-2. At doon nalawak talaga inyong pananaw mga kabansa na itong COVID ay talagang nanggaling sa Estados Unidos. At sila lamang ang meron talagang kapasidad para magkaroon nito. Unfortunately, dahil nga ang dami-dami nilang laboratories, the possibility and even the probability na nagkaroon ng virus leak should come from them. Pero ang dami-dami ng laboratory, tapos ito nag-iisa lang sa Wuhan, ito tinuturo nila. Hindi po tama yun. No? The greater probability, lalo-lalo na noong 2014, nagkaroon talaga ng vagrant break of protocol sa mga laboratories na yan. Kaya tulak pa natin ang petisyon. Meron pa palang isang petisyon, no, Mentong, na hindi natin na-discuss.
Yes.
Yung dito
Yung
sa
sa
Huawei. Ano ba naman
Huawei.
to? Sus Mariusip naman ng Canada at Amerika. Political prisoner? Ano ba yan? Dahil lamang sa technological at saka economic warfare?
Economic warfare yan. Wala pa namang desisyon, di ba? Although
wala, 1,000 days.
Being decided now.
Pero malapit na ang hearing for the indictment. Yun yung problema. Kasi nga, US is actually, naiipit ang Canada to a certain extent, pero at the same time, sila din, bakit kasi nila ginawa yun? Yun yung problema din nila. Well, Canada and US are... pero ang tanong kasi dyan, ano yan? Tawag nito, economic, yan? Ikinalaman yan sa Cold War, sa economic na side ng dalawang bansa.
At saka yung tsaka yung ano ba tawag doon, yung G5. By the way, itong dito technology, no, na nilabas ng telco, G5 na pala ito. Kaya pala hindi pwede yung SIM card nila doon sa ibang cellphone na luma. Kailangan medyo bago-bago and may mga compatibility series, no? Pagka ho kayo magsishift sa dito, alamin nyo muna kung ano yung cellphone na compatible dyan sa SIM card na G5 ng dito. Huwag kayong basta-basta bibili ng cellphone. Alamin nyo muna. Ngayon, pangalawa, bakit naman kayo magdidito? Hindi po ito commercial endorsement, no? Dito lamang ang merong, kumbaga yung only sa Globe at saka sa Smart. Dito, meron silang 300 megabytes para makatawag ka sa Smart or Globe. Pero ang Smart and Globe, wala silang interoperability with dito. Kaya kung gusto nyo, ganun lang. Yan, binibigay ko lang sa inyo ang options nyo. And yan ang reason kung bakit itong si Mrs. Huawei, hindi ko alam yung apelido niya.
Meng Wanzhou.
Oh, yan. Ay, kinulong. Hoping na mamimitigate nila o mapeperenohan nila yung G5, which Huawei is championing. Hindi pwede po eh.
5G.
You cannot stop progress.
Okay. Well, it's now 8:04, so meron pa tayong isang subject matter, but all these developments na positive po sa vaccine ay magandang balita po sa ating lahat. Ang gusto ko lang paalala sa ating mga taga-subaybay ay yung propaganda war ng kanluran laban sa Chinese vaccines. Ano? At meron pang mangilan-ngilan na siguro ngayon lang dito sa Pilipinas na nadadala dyan na mababa daw ang effectivity ng Sinovac, Sinopharm. Hindi po totoo yun. At lumalabas na po ang real-world data doon sa Pfizer at Moderna dahil po nakikita na 70%, 75%, 65%, meron pang 45% ang actual real-world effectivity po ng Pfizer. At ang patunay po dyan ay gusto na po mag-booster shot, yung third shot sa Amerika, sa Israel, nag-third booster shot pa sila for senior citizens 60 years old and above. Kasi nga sa pangalawa, pangatlong buwan, pang-apat na buwan, humihina hanggang sa 40% na lang yung Pfizer at Moderna. Hindi ko nilalahat, pero yun po ay actual data and I can show the references na scientific at mga reports dyan. Ang hindi natin sinasabi mas mahusay ang Sinovac or Sinopharm. Sinasabi ko po, pantay-pantay lahat yan. At iba-iba po ang dating sa iba't ibang mga kondisyon. Pero there is one advantage sa inactivated virus. Buong virus po ang pinapatay at sinasaksak para makilala ang buong virus. Ang mRNA vaccine ng Pfizer at Moderna ay isang spike lang po. Kung baga tayo may apat na kamay at paa, dalawang paa, apat na kamay, dalawang kamay, dalawang paa, 10 daliri sa bawat appendage o 20 daliri. Kumukuha lang ng isang daliri yung mRNA vaccine na Pfizer at Moderna para isama doon sa vaccine. Yun lang ang parang identity na hahanapin ng antibodies ng katawan. So as the virus mutates, baka hindi makilala yung isang daliri lang, yung isang spike lang. Yung inactivated virus buo. So maraming spikes na pwedeng makilala. That's the scientific reason why the inactivated virus, as China is announcing, is effective sa Delta virus. But it does not mean when you're vaccinated, 100% hindi ka natatamaan.
Ingat!
Kung sobrang viral load, tulad ng Delta, 1,200 times more virus load than yung mga dating variants. Kaya kahit na si John Simon nag-ivermectin na bakunahan na, tinamaan pa rin. Pero so far, hindi po siya naghihingalo. Yun ang importante niya. Well, anyway, we have one last item because it's past 8 na po. At the last item is tungkol sa world's fastest train now is not Japan's Shinkansen, which is around 300 miles per hour. It is China's new 373 miles per hour bullet train, and it is now the world's fastest land vehicle. The vehicle can complete the 754-mile trip between Beijing and Shanghai in 2.5 hours. That's almost going from Manila to Mindanao. Mile kasi yan eh. Manila to Mindanao is ilang kilometers? 1,500, somewhere there. Almost the same distance. Ano, sa 2.5 oras lang po. Hindi aeroplano yan, train po yan. Okay, so it's now 8:06. We can extend 5 minutes. Maestra Ana, Kaado, anything you want to discuss or going back to the other issues that we have discussed?
Ay, add ko lang po, ako naman, i-add ko lang dun sa sinasabi kanina ni Kaado, yung kay Madam Wawi, na naka house arrest tatay, kasi pero sa house arrest, nakakaawa po siya. Alam niyo, naka-house arrest na siya, pero naka-shock, meron siyang parang metal na naka-attach.
Tracer sa ankle, sa paa.
Oo, paa na kahit anong movement niya, tinitrace or parang gano'n.
Nasubaybayan siya, nababantayan siya.
Oo, nasubaybayan. May bago po. Ang Amazon actually is not allowing Chinese sellers, I think.
Yes.
Oo, isa pa yan. Talagang makikita mo yung they're really trying, no? The US is really trying to control, no? At kung paano nila i-cripple ang booming economy ng China sa panahon na to. Kasi yung Amazon. So right now, I think what the US what the Chinese are doing is they will create something similar to Amazon para hindi ma-constrain ang kanilang mga seller na dumadaan dapat sa Amazon for online shopping, and especially mga books at iba-iba pa. So that's really crazy, no? Anyways.
Yeah. Meron pa?
Hindi, yung sa train, ang gara. Sobrang gara.
Okay. Before we go to Kaado, basahin ko lang ang comment ni Sela Watson. Gusto ng deep state ng Amerika mag-reset ng economy para mabura ang utang nila sa Wall Street, Federal Reserve, 9/11 pa, expired, kaya may fake na terrorism ini-create din nila. Meron po akong bagong artikulo medyo mahaba, baka umabot ng 2,000 words. Sa Sovereign PH, sinumite ko na kay Kaado today, pero i-edit pa natin yan. Tungkol dyan sa 9/11 at ang connection po sa Afghanistan and so on. So, abangan po ninyo. Let me read one more comment from the other site. Kung meron pang bagong, let's see. From Lawrence Eknerol, natatawa ako dahil lahat ng usapan at balita merong Pacquiao. Naisip ko tuloy na noon aliw na aliw tayo kay Pacquiao kada may laban sa boxing. Ngayon, na nasa politika siya, parang sa isang iglap lang, puro batikos na lang. Siguro kapag hindi umapak si Pacquiao sa politika, he still appreciated manalo o matalo sa boxing. Okay. Anyway, final words from Kaado.
Well, ako'y natutuwa dahil coronavirus, Sinovac ang aking pinili. Dahil baka maka-travel na tayo dyan, Mentong.
Well,
Herd immunity, Herd immunity. Gusto ko na makita yung yung Uyghurs at saka yung Tibet.
Okay.
Hindi na, nagpa-process na ang Chinese embassy. They're actually processing already. They started already.
Yun ang sinasabi ko. Ngayon, about Amazon. No love lost. No love lost. Last week, na-hack ang account ko sa Amazon. Oh, grabe naman, Apple, bumili ang Apple laptop ang aking may bahay sa Amerika para magamit niya yung bagong computer. Luma na kasi ginagamit niya sa kanyang negosyo. Ay na-hack dahil doon sa purchase na yon. Tapos sabi ko nga, paano mangyayari yun? November 2016 pa ang huling purchase ko sa Amazon. Pero hindi magandang sign yan dahil they will miss out. No? Of course, they may not need it. they will miss out on the population of China. At saka yung exchange will not be good kasi yan ang problema. Tira sila ng tira sa China pero China hindi naman gumaganti dahil na communitarian sila. But
Okay.
let's look forward. Let's pray for Kajun Simon for his healing, no?
Yeah, we will monitor him every day. We will monitor natin. At nag-alok nga ako ng yan watching mo. Sabi niya meron din siya. So, kompleto po siya ng mga panlaban po sa COVID-19. From,
Ilang araw na po?
yes, go ahead.
Ilang araw na?
Well, 2 days ko na siya minomonitor. Baka 3-4 days. Mukhang 2 linggo yan. So, let's
Okay.
keep up monitoring the condition. From Pinay,
Opo.
the vaccines po will not prevent one from getting COVID. Rather, it prevents one from having serious symptoms of COVID that may lead to death. From Lorenzo Cortez, Mentong, Ma'am Ana, na-miss ko kayong tatlo. Nila Kaado, kailan next show nyo sa studio naman? Okay. Baka pagkaraan po nitong pag bumalik po 5,000 new cases. Kasi ngayon, 12 pa. Umabot ng 17, no? Almost 18.
Oy, umabot ang 18.
18, ano? So kung bumaba po sa 3,000, 5,000, baka pwede na po tayo mag-studio ulit. No? Okay, we have to say good night kasi 8:15 na po. No? So 8:12, but we will have to say goodbye pa. Let me read one more at least sa kabila. May makita po tayong mababasa comments. Jesusimo Lipanta, hello, Jolito. Nag-uusap po sila. So, may Aguinaldo, good evening, Maggie Yamane, gandang gabi po, watching here, live here in Osaka, Japan. Okay, paalam na tayo, Maestra Ana, Encado.
Opo, maraming salamat po sa lahat po ng sumusubaybay sa amin at sa nakasama po namin sa araw na to. Sa Sunday po, meron po tayong ang maestro, huwag niyo pong kalilimutan, alas 8 hanggang 10 o'clock, mag-ingat po tayo. Again, kahit na vaccinated po, huwag maging complacent. Try to protect yourself pa rin para, for other reason. Ako, economic talaga ang reason. Ayoko na matali ako na hindi ako nakakagalaw dahil kailangan ko magpahinga, no? So it's much more that. And then take care, follow the minimum health standard po ng ating gobyerno. Maraming salamat. See you sa Sunday.
Okay, Encado.
Congratulations sa GTNR. We've hit 50,000 subscribers according to the analytics.
Yeah.
So, pwede na tayong tumanggap ng advertising.
And,
Maraming salamat sa inyong pagsuporta.
And ngayon po, pinag-aaralan ni Joshua yung daily broadcast po. Whoever wants to broadcast, ako, I have my plans to do it every morning. That's open, of course, to Kaana to have her own broadcast, Kaado to have his own broadcast while waiting for radio. And so we will also be upgrading our petition for the WHO to investigate for Duterte in a one-click signature. Kasi maraming proseso ngayon. Lalagay pa ng email, lalagay pa ng pangalan. So, meron tayong one-click petition.
Kailan yung forum natin, Mentong?
Yes, huwag niyo kalilimutan. September 16.
September 16. Okay, with that.
Maganda yung topic, Maganda yung topic. Media and media cooperation. This is really an important topic. So, yun sila po ang ating mag-i-invite naman ako. Sige lang.
Okay. So, maraming salamat, Maestra Ana, Kaado, and sa lahat ng mga nagsubaybay po sa ating diskusyon at nagkomento po dito. Thank you very much. Take care of yourself. We'll see you again Sunday and next Wednesday. Mabuhay. And rest easy. We will conquer all these challenges. Bye-bye.
Bye po!
Good night, Lauren.